Welcome. My name's Tom, and this is my colleague Tiger. We're here for a video, a discussion of two guys and their spirit guides. This is sponsored by TNTSpiritWorks.com and thewayshowerscollege.com. Well, Tiger, what are we going to talk about today?
I'm ready to dig in.
I'm ready to dig in, and there's all kinds of wonderful world events to, a lot of sizzles being sold to us, you might say, these days, and a lot of all kinds of stuff. So with all that in mind, and with all the challenges that we're working through today as a society and separately, what's been coming to my mind is minding my own business. Minding my own business. And, you know, how's that sound to you?
Let's do it. That's probably that's a fundamental, right? I mean, what you're talking about, Tom, is something that's going to affect everything in life. I can always roll it back down to me and my business. You know, from a spiritual perspective or material perspective, I'm going to end up coming back there.
Well, I agree. You know, some of the things that I've been thinking about lately are that I noticed that many people that we work with, you know, are very sensitive, or they're psychic, and they can pick up impressions as to what's going on in their environment, in a sense, what's sort of coming up in their future and near future. And I noticed that whilst there's so many people who are very sensitive and come from a bigger picture and a real loving, you know, spiritual energy, it's amazing the different beliefs they'll have about either politics or religion. And, you know, I was really in a quandary because, you know, often people sort of assume that I'm one way or the other in terms of my politics. And I'm not going to wear any of that on my sleeve today. But when I was regrouping with my guidance, it really came down to the balance of thought and feeling. And you know how one of our colleagues, Estelle, had written a tweet, Estelle Small, on Twitter, and it was about concepts and letting go of concepts. And you know, the thing that gets in the way of my success and sensitivity is just really the concepts I have about myself that don't work for me. And you know, when we have a common denominator of spiritual work or interest in spiritual things, how is it that people can want that manifested in the material world in almost polar opposites, you know, as we're talking about in the States, you know, because 70 million people or so voted for one side, 70 million people or so voted for another side, and yet there's good people everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, so what we're talking, what you're bringing up is that kind of the U.S. election right now that's going on. I know other countries don't have the same election cycles as we do, but the bottom line is, if I'm recognizing who I am, where I came from, where I'm going type thing, that's my business, right? That's my business. And no one came here to do what I came to do. No one can do that for me. No one's came here to raise my state of consciousness. You know, it's just like the same concept that no one thinks for me. No one digests my food for me. That's my opportunity, right? In life, I can have many delegates, many people that I delegate to, right? But in the end, I need to know what's in it for me, right? If I don't have that clear, then in essence, I'm going to be all over the place. Right? I'm going to be swung left and right, which brings us to your point about balance of thought and feeling, which is critical. It's critical for navigating planet Earth. Mm-hmm. It is critical. My two worlds need to mesh. And, you know, the whole politics that happens to be going on at the moment, it really is important, but it's not essential. What's essential is I've got to know where I begin and end. and that I have to realize that everything is there for me, right? It's all a means to an end. And if the game for me, Tom, is if they can get me buying into the idea that I'm going to win or lose, now I'm on a tangent. I'm off in la la land doing what they want me to rather than what I've come to do. And it is true, there are some times where there's things aligned, right? Or I have a preference. It's by my preference. And that's wonderful. We came here to work with our preferences, or another way to say it, we came here to work with our wants. Right? It's an important thing in life. But if I lose perspective and start playing the competition, glory, and devotion game of the rights and wrongs of that person and that person, I've lost the plot. I've lost the plot. I'm scrounging for crumbs. I'm scrounging for crumbs when I own the cake. Like, you know, and that's what I get out of it that we talked about with that tweet about the message. It's like, okay, you know, where do I begin and end here? So when I come back home to recognize it's all here for me, it's all here for you, and it's all a means to an end, then I can work with things clearer, right? Then I can work with things clearer.
I agree. And, you know, what occurred to me was that when I'm tuning into my sensitivity, it's all there. And my sensitivity is going to pick up the energy and the probabilities of the way the energy is forming,
Sure.
because people have free will and things can go one way or the other, and that's all part of it. And then I'm going to filter those impressions through my intellect. Or I'm going to discern what I'm picking up through my intellect. Or I'm going to discern what somebody said and the feeling of what they said through my intellect. And then, you know, it always comes down to, well, what are my concepts? What are my biases? Are another word for concepts.
That's it.
And what have I been trained, how have I been trained to think in my first 7 years? So often I don't even know that a concept that I have is a bad concept, or all I mean by bad is it doesn't work for me.
Right.
It's until I have kind of an awakening experience through working with my guidance, or just hitting my head against a wall for so long and, you know, recognizing it doesn't feel comfortable anymore, then I can start to let go of a concept. So whilst we all have common ground, it's like that with that sensitivity that we've got, as it gets filtered through our intellect and through our concepts and the maze that we pick up. We say the maze because it's like, you know, the program that we have.
Sure.
Will eschew the version when we share it through our emotions, because we're doing the feel, organize, or feel, think, act, feel, think, act kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then our emotions come out. That's when I know if I'm over emotional about it, I've realized that's when I know I'm caught. And
It's an area to take a look at.
it's an area, yeah, it can be an area I take to look at. So if I'm really upset about it, then I know I'm caught. If I'm really happy about it, or elated, or, oh, I'm saved, or everything will be great now, I know I'm caught.
Yeah, so to me, why this is important to a practical spiritual life, right? I'm not going to go out there and, you know, be some kind of holy guy type thing. I'm a practical guy. I'm a practical guy. How is this all going to work for me? You know, if I'm working with my spiritual helpers, I'm cleansing, I'm doing these spiritual techniques and working with these tools, how are they helping me in my daily life, in traffic, working with my relationships, earning my income, etc.? How is it going to work? So if it's not doing that, to me it's great, but it needs to be put on the shelf until I can use it for something. So working with what you're talking about, why it's so important is because I'm here to navigate all of those things that are going on right now. And if I'm caught, right, there's a difference between being involved in something and then being caught up in it, right? That's the distinction, meaning that I have an overabundance of bias to try to create some kind of outcome with other people, right? And so what happens is I end up creating this God outside, right? It becomes this big game to create something that's greater out there than what I've come to do and working with my spiritual helpers and my relationship with the universe or God, whatever you want to call it. And just so I'm kind of clear there, you know, I believe in the bigger picture, but if I'm to have any relationship with my helpers, any relationship with the universe or God or whatever you want to call it out there, then I need to know myself, right? The game is, get caught with something out there and that's going to fix me.
Right.
But the actuality is, if I want to understand the universe, I want to understand my spiritual guidance, I want to understand people, then I better understand myself. Now, I know we say that in this world, like 30 years ago, that would have been a new concept. Today, it's like we buzz with that stuff, right? It's everywhere. You kind of hear about it. But it doesn't matter. It's still factual and true. So I think that coming down to minding my business, knowing where I begin and end, and being able to navigate all that, that is so critical. So let's make something really practical. Because all this stuff can sound out there, right? How safe am I going to be, or you going to be, driving in a car if I'm so worried about the red ties and blue ties, or the election this, or my partner that, or my kids that, or my job that, or the money that? How safe am I going to be? I'm not going to be safe. I'm driving down the road and I'm not going to pay attention. Right? Now, I know that sounds kind of like common sense, but it is bred and born from a place where I am no longer living my life. I'm trying to live someone else's life. I'm worried about what's going on out there. I'm fearful. Right? And that sets the tone to mind everybody's business but my own.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's where the free ebook that we have at tntspiritworks.com, You, Your Purpose, and Your Intuition, can really help people, you know, start to...
It's awesome.
Tune into what's their business and what's the thing to mostly be focused on. Because I noticed that with everything, today it's highlighted because, you know, there's this election on and contentious election and so on and so forth. But really what I'm talking about is the sort of thing that can happen between myself and my friends, myself and my family, myself and my community, that I can get caught up in, if I'm not minding my own business, I can get caught up in the drama and, as you say in sports, keep your eye on the ball, or play the ball, not the man, play the ball, not the woman. So I think that about wraps it up for this episode of Minding Your Own Business. Thank you for listening to us today and joining us. We're going to have a live stream coming up soon, so please go to tntspiritworks.com and subscribe. You'll get a free ebook, You, Your Purpose, and Intuition, Your Intuition, and also we can update you as to when the live stream will occur. And during that, we'll be able to answer questions directly from you on these kinds of discussions that we have. So the whole purpose of this for me and for my colleague Tiger is to, how do we make all this spiritual stuff we talk about, like the balance of thought and feeling, or the 3 states of consciousness that we mention in our lectures and so forth, how do you make it practical and how do you relate to the world around you today? So on behalf of Tiger and myself, thank you for letting us share, and we hope to see you at the next podcast or video, 2 guys and their spirit guides.